Before we get into the video, could everyone please subscribe to my Endless Diary Tales channel? Thank you so much. As soon as I completed my mission, the long silent mechanical voice finally spoke again. The system informed me that my task was a success. In 15 days I could go home. Receiving this confirmation, I completely changed my behavior. When Simon asked to share a room with the female lead, I gladly agreed. When my son asked if he could call the female lead mom, I immediately severed our mother-child relationship and transferred his guardianship to her. Seeing my compliance, Simon and my son looked at me with condescending pity. "Lara, as long as you don't cause trouble, the position of Mrs. Simon will always be yours." I obediently nodded. Believing I had finally come to my senses, Simon and my son indulged in their new family dynamic, openly eating and living with the female lead as if they had always been one happy household. Until I died. Simon clutched my lifeless body, wailing in agony. "This isn't how it was supposed to be, Lara. How could you leave me? How could you be so cruel?" My son collapsed to the ground, gripping my ice-cold hand. "Mom, don't leave me. Mom, please come back." But I had already gone home. Back to the place I had been away from for over a decade. Chapter 1. Late at night, a sickly sweet ringtone pierced the silence. Lying beside me, Simon immediately picked up. A delicate, pitiful voice drifted through the receiver. "Simon, I feel so awful. Can you come and keep me company?" Without hesitation, Simon got up and dressed. His voice was gentle, soothing. "Be good. I'm coming right now. Don't move around too much. Just wait for me." I sat up, mirroring his movements. Hanging up the call, Simon glanced at me, his gaze cold and indifferent. "Lara, stop being unreasonable. Elise isn't feeling well. I have to go check on her." He slammed his phone onto the bed as if expecting me to throw a tantrum, just like before. To cry, to beg, to stop him from leaving. But this time he was wrong. I picked up his phone and handed it back to him. "Go ahead. She must be in bad shape. Don't waste time. Stay with her tonight." Simon froze. His face twisted with disbelief, eyes locked onto mine. I pulled the covers over myself and lay back down. "Why aren't you leaving? If you wait any longer, she might actually get worse." His gaze scanned my face as if trying to figure out what I was playing at. Then with a scoff, Simon turned and left. As the door clicked shut, I slowly rubbed my leg, sore from where his phone had hit me. That look on his face, so full of disdain. He must have thought I'd chase after him again. That I'd throw a fit, claw him back home just like before. But this time, no. Without me there to interfere, he and Elise would finally have a perfect night together. And what did that have to do with me? In 15 days I'd be home. That thought alone was enough to lull me into a peaceful sleep. Chapter 2. The next morning when I woke up, Lucas was already at the dining table eating breakfast. I was a little surprised. Then I remembered. Simon had left in such a hurry last night, he must have forgotten to tell Lucas anything. Lucas acted as if I didn't exist. He continued eating, not sparing me even a glance. I was used to it. Sitting down, I quietly had my meal as well. For a while, the only sound in the enormous dining room was the clinking of silverware. Then Lucas's phone rang. He barely listened before dropping his half-eaten breakfast and shooting me a glare. Then without another word, he ran out the door. I sat there watching him rush away, his figure disappearing from sight. I had clearly heard Simon's voice on the call. "Elise isn't feeling well." That was all Lucas needed to hear. Just one sentence. And he immediately panicked, dropping everything to rush to her side. Chapter 3. From the moment I entered this world, from the very first step I took to conquer Simon, it was all a mistake. I was never supposed to be here. The system bound me to the wrong host. I used to have a happy, perfect life. I had just been admitted to a prestigious university. A childhood friend had just confessed his love to me. Everything was flawless. But then, because of a system's mistake, I was forced into a novel bound to the wrong person. My mission: to save the tragic second male lead, Simon. In the original story, Simon deeply loved the female lead, Elise. Born a pitiful illegitimate child, Simon was a stepping stone for everyone to trample on. One day, Elise gave him a single piece of candy. She encouraged him. From that moment on, Simon worshipped her like a goddess. The moment he learned Elise came from a powerful family, He clawed his way into the Shun family, ruthlessly crushing the true heir and seizing the family business, all just to be worthy of her. For Elise, he burned himself to the ground. He sacrificed everything, making enemies of the male lead and ultimately meeting a miserable end. The system's mission for me was simple: prevent his tragic fate. Marry him. Give him a child. Let him experience what it means to have a family. I refused. But the system's electric shock seared into my bones. It hurt so much I thought I would die. The only relief? The system promised once the mission was complete I could go home. So I had no choice. Step by step I approached Simon. Step by step, I tried to warm his frozen heart with love. Lucas was an accident. No matter how desperately I tried, no matter what methods I used, Simon only loved Elise. I thought I was doomed to stay in this world forever. Until the day Simon found out Elise was engaged to the male lead. That night, he drank himself into oblivion. Then he came to me. Ignoring my cries and struggles, he held me and whispered Elise's name between sobs. The next morning Simon woke up. He saw what had happened. I still remember the look in his eyes, as if he was staring at something filthy, something disgusting. His voice was full of loathing as he threw a check in my face. Take the money. Get lost. But I didn't leave. Because I was pregnant. Holding the report in my hands, I barged into his house. I forced Simon to marry me. For 3 years, Simon's hatred for me was beyond words. Whenever he was around me, every movement, every word dripping with disgust. Until Elise married the male lead. Until she had a child of her own. Only then did Simon finally give up. And with our son's presence, he began treating me better. Gradually, he brought me to banquets, introducing me as his wife. He bought rare treasures I liked. He personally baked me a birthday cake. On our wedding anniversary, he filled the entire city skyline with fireworks. I thought this meant we were a loving couple. Chapter for everything shattered silently. The moment Elise and the male lead decided to divorce. When Simon heard the news, he wept and laughed at the same time. That night he sat in the dark, unmoving. Ignoring my pleas and desperate attempts to stop him, he cradled the fragile, pitiful Elise in his arms and carried her into the manor. That manor, a place I had never set foot in. I had only accidentally overheard that Simon spent billions to buy it. Once I had asked him about it. But the moment the words left my mouth, Simon's expression changed. His eyes turned sharp, cold, and terrifying. This is none of your business. Now I finally understood. It was for Elise. Everything had always been for Elise. But luckily, my mission ended the moment she divorced. The system had once asked me, did I want to stay or leave? After all, I was married and had a child. Gave me a choice. And without hesitation, I chose to leave. From the very beginning, everything was wrong. I could never forget the helplessness and fear I felt in this world. I could never forget the way Simon reacted to Elise's divorce. How his joy overflowed into madness. I could never forget how he carried Elise into the manor. As if she were the most fragile, precious treasure in the world. And more than anything, I could never forget how the son I had painstakingly raised, after just one meeting with Elise, never stopped asking to see her again. How he desperately longed to live with her. How when I tried to stop him, his furious words pierced me like a sword. I hate you. I want Elise to be my mom. In that moment, my heart sank into an endless abyss. And I knew. I had never belonged here. And I never would. Chapter 5. I was painting in my studio when the school's call came through. Lucas had collapsed at school. By the time I rushed to the hospital, Simon was already there. The moment he saw me, he stormed toward me, radiating cold fury. Lara, how could you be so vicious, even to your own son? His roar caught me off guard. I frowned. What the hell are you talking about? Pain exploded in my chin. Before I could finish, Simon had grabbed my jaw, his grip like iron. His voice was harsh, filled with disappointment. You knew he was allergic to pollen, and yet you made him wear a scarf covered in it. If his teacher hadn't noticed in time, he could have gone into anaphylactic shock and died. Lara, he's your own son. How could you? I kicked him hard, breaking free. Rubbing my sore jaw, I processed his accusation. A scarf covered in pollen. I looked up, meeting Simon's murderous gaze. And I spoke calmly. Did you forget? There are no flowers in my house. The garden is abandoned. His expression flickered. I continued, my tone casual. Besides that scarf, Elise knitted it herself. I never even touched it. What does this have to do with me? Simon stiffened, but his voice remained as icy as ever. Lara, you always pull these disgusting tricks to frame Elise. This has nothing to do with her. I raised an eyebrow. Oh, Simon, did you forget? Lucas has been living at the manor with Elise. If you hadn't brought him back last night, I wouldn't have seen him for over a month. My lips curled. The weather isn't even cold. Why did he suddenly come back wearing a scarf? Ah, I see now. Someone was setting me up. Shut up. Simon's voice was sharp. Lucas is only 8. He isn't as scheming as you. I laughed. Maybe not. But that doesn't mean no one taught him. In an instant, Simon's fingers tightened around my throat. Oxygen vanished. The suffocation came like a tidal wave. You don't deserve to say Elise's name. Simon hissed. Not everyone is as cruel as you. You stop at nothing to get what you want, even harming your own child. From now on, you won't even see Lucas twice a month. I had painstakingly raised him. Yet Simon, without hesitation, handed him over to Elise. Because Elise liked children. Because Elise had lost a child. And Lucas just happened to be there, to help ease her pain. As his biological mother, I was allowed to see him only once every 2 weeks. I refused to accept it. I fought. I argued. But my own son looked at me with disgust. Mom, can you stop acting crazy? I'm just keeping Elise company. You're embarrassing yourself. No wonder Dad likes Elise instead. At that moment I shattered. But then the system spoke. Mission complete. I could go home. That was it. All I had to do was remove the male lead from the equation, and Simon's tragic fate would disappear. How laughable. I had clung to Simon for over 10 years. Every day living in fear. Living in paranoia. Dreading the moment he would repeat his mistakes. And yet it was this simple. As long as the main couple was separated, the story collapsed. I exhaled, pushing aside my thoughts. I took one last long look at Lucas. Then I turned away. Simon's years of longing and waiting had finally been rewarded. And Lucas' wish to have Elise as his mother would soon come true. Chapter 7. Life without those two was surprisingly comfortable. I was waiting for a friend at a cafe when an unwelcome guest ruined my mood. Well, if it isn't Mrs. Simon. What are you doing drinking coffee all alone? Oh, silly me, I forgot. Your husband and son are busy keeping Elise company. Of course you're alone. I lifted my gaze. It was Elise's best friend. A pathetic lapdog who worshipped Elise for her wealth. I stirred my coffee lazily and responded, utterly bored. Sorry, and you are? The woman's face twisted.
I'm Fiona Lara.
Don't think. I cut her off. Ah, I thought someone let a stray dog in. Miss, if you have nothing important to say, kindly leave. The cafe has a no barking policy. Fiona's face darkened. Her voice turned shrill. Lara, you still think you're Mrs. Simon? Did you even know? A few days ago, Simon took Elise on a little getaway. I heard it with my own ears. Lucas called Elise Mommy. And Simon didn't even stop him. Her eyes gleamed with mockery. Everyone knows Elise and Mr. Shun were meant to be together. If you hadn't shamelessly clung to Simon, they would have been a family ages ago. Look at you, so pitiful. You can't keep your husband, you can't keep your child. You're just clutching onto the empty title of Mrs. Simon. Ah! A scream tore through the cafe. Heads turned. I calmly wiped my fingers, glanced at Fiona's miserable state, and smirked. Are you done talking? I leaned in, voice light, mocking. Go tell your infertile homewrecker of a best friend that all she's getting is a cheating scumbag and an ungrateful brat. If she likes garbage so much, she can keep them. I tilted my head, mimicking her earlier tone. Oh, and by the way, I heard you have a thing for Luis Funny. Everyone knows he's been with his childhood sweetheart for years. So what now? You enjoy being the other woman. I suppose it makes sense. Your best friend is a homewrecker. Birds of a feather flock together, right? Fiona's face turned crimson. The cafe patrons who initially pitied her now looked at her with nothing but contempt. She shook with fury, pointing a trembling finger at me. Lara, I won't let this go. Just you wait. I watched her flee in embarrassment and casually added one last remark. Oh, and Fiona, make sure to tell Elise that as long as I don't get divorced, she'll always be the lowly mistress who can't show her face in public. The thought of my words reaching Elise, of her face twisting in frustration, it brought me pure joy. After all, everything I said was simply the truth. Chapter 8. When I returned home, I saw Simon already there. You're back. Where did you go? I shifted my gaze away. Just went for a walk. He handed me a cake. His expression was awkward, something I rarely saw. This is your favorite cake. I bought it especially for you. I didn't take it. Is there something you need? Simon placed the cake on the table, then wrapped his arms around my waist. His warm breath brushed against my neck. Lara, Elise is just staying temporarily. Her family has disowned her. She has nowhere else to go. That's why she came to me. I promise she won't appear in front of you again. Okay. I pushed him away, meeting his stunned gaze. My voice was calm, serious. Hearing you say that, she really does sound quite pitiful. And now that she can't have children, she's even more miserable. So why don't we do this? Let's legally transfer our son to her. What do you think? Lara. Simon's face darkened with fury. You don't have to be so damn sarcastic. I sighed lightly. I'm serious. You and I both know the truth. Our son prefers her, doesn't he? Simon's jaw clenched tightly. His hands curled into fists, knuckles turning white. He was struggling to contain his emotions. Watching his restraint, I suddenly didn't understand something. It was him who had publicly brought Elise into the estate, who had pampered her like a treasure. It was him who, after learning Elise couldn't have children, had sent our son to keep her company. And when he realized Elise liked having Lucas around, he let him move into the estate entirely. Everyone saw his actions. Everyone understood his intentions. Yet the moment I stopped resisting, the moment I agreed to give him exactly what he wanted, he suddenly couldn't accept it. Lara. Simon's voice was low, almost pleading. Nothing happened between Elise and me. I only let her stay because I felt sorry for her. That's all. Please believe me. I stood up, avoiding the hand he reached out. My tone was flat. I understand. Simon had never seen me treat him like poison before. For a brief moment he looked panicked. Then he quickly changed the subject. Lucas's birthday is coming up. He hesitated, then carefully said, lately Lucas has been very attached to Elise. Since he knows his birthday is soon, he asked Elise to organize the party for him. She didn't have the heart to refuse, so she agreed. Seeing my expressionless face, Simon hurriedly corrected himself. Of course, if you don't want that, you can handle the party instead. Would that be okay? No need. I hate these things anyway. If someone else wants to take over, I couldn't be happier. I shook my head, rejecting his offer. Really? You won't make a scene again like last time? Hearing the hesitation in his voice, I knew he was remembering. The last time he let Elise organize his birthday party, I had caused a huge scene in front of all his friends, humiliating Elise completely. After that, Simon and Lucas began celebrating with Elise in secret. I was never informed again. I slowly traced the scar on my palm. It was from that night when Simon, protecting Elise, had shoved me into a tower of wine glasses. I spoke softly. Don't worry. I absolutely won't. Simon's eyes flickered toward my hand. His lips parted slightly, but in the end he said nothing. He gave me one last deep look, then turned and left. Chapter 9. Before I could step out of the door, Simon received a call and abruptly turned back. His face was dark with anger. Lara, what have you done this time? I looked at him with a puzzled expression. Are you out of your mind? Elise fainted. She's in the hospital now. Are you satisfied? I suddenly understood. It must be about what happened at the cafe. She must have found out and started her usual melodramatics again. What exactly am I supposed to be satisfied about? What does her condition have to do with me? If you have so much free time to argue with me, why don't you go check if she's dead yet? Simon was infuriated by my cold and cutting words. He kicked the coffee table forcefully, sending the delicate cake shattering into pieces, completely ruined. Lara, I thought you had changed. Turns out you're still as sharp-tongued and ruthless as ever. Absolutely disgusting. He grabbed my wrist with so much force it felt like he was trying to crush my bones. You're coming with me to the hospital to apologize right now. If anything happens to Elise, I'll make you pay with your life. Simon practically dragged me to the hospital. No matter how much I struggled, clawed, or bit at him, his grip on my wrist didn't loosen in the slightest. Before we even reached Elise's hospital room, Lucas suddenly ran toward us, his voice hoarse from crying. Dad! Aunt Elise fainted again. What do we do? Simon immediately let go of me and sprinted forward. Even his own son tripped and fell in his rush, but Simon didn't even glance back. I moved my bruised wrist slightly and glanced down at the bewildered little boy beside me. I felt a pang of guilt. After all, I had cherished him since he was small. Even though I had decided to leave, I didn't want to see his tear-streaked little face. Just as I was about to help him up, "Get away from me!" Lucas pushed me away with all his strength. I fell to the ground without any defense, the pain in my wrist deepening. When I looked up, I met Lucas's furious, hate-filled eyes. A sharp pain surged in my chest, overpowering even the pain in my wrist. Lucas's small face was twisted in rage. "It's all your fault. If it weren't for you, Aunt Elise wouldn't have fainted. You said Aunt Elise couldn't have children, right? From now on she's my mom. I am her son, and I will only call her mom from now on." The moment he finished speaking, he turned and ran eagerly toward the hospital room. I stared blankly in the direction Lucas had run off, my mind frozen. A nurse came over and helped me up, her voice filled with concern. "Miss, your wrist looks serious. Would you like me to take you to a doctor?" I glanced at her worried expression and let out a soft chuckle before declining her kindness. A stranger could show me warmth, yet my husband and my own child despised me. Elise had used such despicable tricks, and yet someone as intelligent and perceptive as Simon couldn't see through her. As for my son, the moment he met her, he was completely drawn to her. This must be the heroine's halo at work. Sunlight pierced through the clouds, dazzling my eyes. I took a deep breath, feeling only relief in my heart. I don't belong here. None of this has anything to do with me. I have my own family, my own loved ones, they are waiting for me to return. With that thought, I dialed my lawyer. "Lucas, since this is what you truly desire, I'll give you this birthday gift. I imagine you'll be delighted." Chapter 10. 10 days passed quickly. Simon and Lucas stayed by Elise's side as if they wanted to hold her in the palm of their hands. Lucas's birthday party was grand, more extravagant than ever before. Everyone who had ties with the Simon family, whether through friendship or business, was in attendance. The atmosphere was lively, filled with clinking glasses and cheerful chatter. When Simon and Elise appeared hand in hand with Lucas, I immediately understood the purpose of the banquet. This was an official announcement. After all, with the three of them holding hands like that, anyone would assume they were a family. People instinctively started searching for me in the crowd. Lucas was the first to spot me standing in the corner. His eyes lit up with surprise. He knew that his words that day had been too hurtful. He had been uncertain whether I would still come to his birthday party. Seeing me there, he was visibly relieved and overjoyed. "Mom!" he called, his dimples appearing as he smiled. He let go of Elise's hand and was about to run toward me when, in the next second, Elise firmly grasped his hand again. She crouched down, her eyes slightly reddened, and shimmering tears welled up in her captivating gaze. "Lucas, didn't you promise to stay with Mommy today? We even sealed it with a stamp. You won't abandon me, right?" Lucas frowned, clearly torn. His gaze shifted between me and Elise, hesitating for a long moment. Finally, his expression hardened with determination, and he nodded firmly. "I won't abandon Mommy." A radiant smile bloomed on Elise's face. I knew Lucas would always love me the most. She pressed a soft kiss onto his forehead. Lucas's little face turned red with embarrassment, but he giggled foolishly. Simon watched their interaction with warm eyes, the scene looking picture-perfect. Seeing this, I didn't bother stepping forward to embarrass myself. Simon held Elise close as they toasted guests across the hall, as if they were the true stars of the night. Chapter 11. I had planned to stay for only a short while before leaving, but even when I avoided trouble, trouble still found its way to me. Elise sauntered toward me with graceful elegance, and my instincts screamed that this wouldn't end well. Sure enough, I wasn't wrong. Before I could step aside, she deliberately bumped into my wine glass, sending the liquid spilling all over her chest. The fabric instantly became soaked. A delicate gasp escaped her lips. Sister, did I do something wrong again? But today is Lucas's birthday. Can't you wait until after the banquet before? Her eyes turned red, glistening tears falling silently. A single teardrop clung to the tip of her nose, and she tightly covered her drenched chest, looking so pitiful that it could stir anyone's sympathy. Hearing the commotion, Simon rushed over immediately, shrugging off his coat to wrap around Elise, shielding her in his embrace. Elise buried her face against his chest, sobbing softly. Simon's expression was dark with anger as he glared at me. Lara, you're causing trouble again. Do you never learn? By now, everyone's attention had already shifted toward us. I leisurely set down my empty glass, picked up another drink and finally spoke. It wasn't me. She was the one who blindly ran into me. At my words, Elise flinched slightly. Simon, misinterpreting her reaction as fear, held her even tighter. Lara, stop making excuses. Just admit what you did and apologize. At that moment, Elise's best friend Fiona suddenly emerged from the crowd. Upon seeing the scene, she raised her hand and charged at me. I sidestepped and she stumbled awkwardly. After regaining her balance, she glared at me with gritted teeth. Lara, how dare you bully Elise? Just a few days ago she was hospitalized because of you. She barely recovered, and now you're tormenting her again. You're absolutely vicious. I poured my drink over Fiona, successfully silencing her. The sharp scream that followed was piercingly loud, making me frown. Then I turned to Simon and said flatly, "Now this was actually my doing." Simon's forehead veins bulged in fury. He clearly wanted to lash out but held back, mindful of the woman in his arms. His voice was ice-cold as he commanded, "Lara, apologize to Elise and Fiona." I slowly swept my gaze across the room. Some faces were amused, some entertained, others filled with resentment. Finally, my eyes landed on a pair of guilty-looking ones. Lucas. He had been following Elise the entire time, so he knew perfectly well who the real instigator was. But he clenched the gift Elise had given him tightly, lowering his head in silence. His stance was clear. I let out a soft chuckle. As expected, a wolf raised with kindness was still nothing more than an ungrateful stray. You still have the nerve to laugh? Simon, enraged by my indifference, took a step forward. Lara, this is my last warning, apologize right now. Simon, please. Elise, who had been playing the silent victim, clung to his chest and whimpered sweetly. Sister didn't do it on purpose. Don't be so harsh on her. I'm fine. I'll just go change my dress. Elise, don't worry. This isn't your fault, Simon reassured her gently. I will make Lara apologize. Then he turned back to me, his disgusted glare utterly unconcealed. I met his eyes and without hesitation declared, "You want me to apologize? That's impossible." Simon was stunned for a moment, completely caught off guard by my response. His gaze instantly turned ice-cold. Lara, if you don't apologize, then we're getting a divorce. Hearing those words, Elise's eyes flickered with delight and she shot me a triumphant glance. The moment Simon's words fell, the entire hall went silent for a brief second. Then murmurs erupted from the crowd, most filled with disdain and scorn toward me. Simon was waiting for me to lower my head, but instead, I felt my lips curve upward involuntarily. I slowly exhaled a single word. All right. His pupils contracted and his fists clenched so tightly that Elise yelped in pain. But it was as if he hadn't heard her at all. What did you say? I said fine. Let's get a divorce. As soon as the words left my mouth, I grabbed Elise and slapped her twice. Her piercing screams filled the air. Simon, however, didn't react at all. He simply stared at me with heaving breaths as if he was desperately restraining himself. I shifted my gaze away from him and locked eyes with Lucas. He hesitated, taking a few steps toward me, his lips parting as if he wanted to say something. I quickly looked away and stepped back. Lucas's face turned deathly pale in an instant. Then I suddenly raised my voice. Oh, that's right. I haven't given my son his birthday present yet. Lucas instinctively knew that this so-called gift wouldn't be something good. His expression turned panicked. Mom, ignoring him, I took out a document and held it up. This is a severance agreement. From today onward, Lara, officially cut all ties with Lucas. We are no longer mother and son. The room fell into absolute silence. With a smile, I walked up to Lucas. This is my birthday gift to you. It may not hold legal weight, but it represents my decision. Do you like it? Lucas's eyes filled with terror. He looked at me as if I were a monster and stumbled backward, hiding behind Simon. Simon stood frozen, unable to process what had just happened. His voice came out hoarse. Lara, you've lost your mind. Do you even realize what you're doing? Oh, and one more thing. I smirked and tossed another document at him. The divorce papers will be delivered to you soon. Make sure you sign them. With countless pairs of complicated judging eyes on me, I turned around and walked away from that disgusting place without looking back, wishing their little family of 3 eternal happiness. May they be locked together forever. Chapter 12. I had caused such a huge scene, yet Simon acted as if nothing had happened. As usual, he brought me a piece of cake. Lara, Lucas hasn't been sleeping well since his birthday. He misses you. Let him stay with you, all right? I'm not his mother anymore. There's no need for me to take care of him. Besides, I would be leaving in 5 days. Where would I find the time to care about him? Simon suddenly stood up, his jaw clenched in frustration. Lara, I've already apologized. What more do you want from me? Divorce. Sign the papers, I replied lazily.
Lara, I'm exhausted.
Stop being so stubborn, will you? Hearing the fatigue in his voice, I remained completely unmoved.
No.
There's nothing left to say between us except divorce. Lara, I've explained countless times. There's nothing between Elise and me. Her heart condition is severe, so I let her stay with me, that's all. What does that have to do with our divorce? You've explained it a million times and my answer remains the same. I just want a divorce. Simon's fists clenched so tightly that his hands trembled. Lara, you're serious about this, aren't you? Of course. As true as pearls. His next words came out through gritted teeth. Fine. As you wish. We'll get divorced. I instantly broke into a bright smile. Great. I'll go get the papers. Hurry up and sign them. I had barely taken a few steps when I heard the loud slam of the door behind me. Turning back, I saw that Simon had already disappeared. Chapter 13. Another day passed, yet Simon showed no intention of proceeding with the divorce. I had no desire to seek him out either. All I wanted was to endure these last 4 days in peace. But to my surprise, Simon brought Lucas over. My expression turned cold as I urged them to leave. Lucas saw my demeanor and immediately burst into tears. Mom, do you really not want me anymore? I took a few steps back, keeping him from getting too close. The agreement has already been given to you. What more do you want? Should I make an official announcement in the papers? Lucas froze while Simon's face darkened. He had already torn up that agreement, but he hadn't expected that I would go so far as to consider publishing it publicly. Lara, Lucas is your biological son. Can you really be this heartless? He knows he was wrong now. Please forgive him. I looked at the father and son, their identical faces, their matching expressions, and suddenly I felt utterly bored with it all. Did they really think that if they showed regret, shed some tears, and acted like they had changed, I would just forgive them? What a joke. The truth was they were simply panicking because they could no longer control me like before. I silently watched their little performance. Simon was the first to speak.
I'm sorry.
I wronged you. Lucas told me everything. It was Elise who deliberately ran into your glass. Some guests also confirmed it. I was wrong to blame you. Lara, you should have told me. If you had, then I raised my hand, cutting him off. And then what? What would you have done? Just explained it away? It wouldn't have changed anything. From the beginning, you never trusted me, did you? If you had, your first reaction wouldn't have been to demand an apology from me. Simon froze for a moment. Then, after a deep breath, he said, Lara, as long as you don't target Elise anymore, we can go back to how we used to be. I let out a laugh. The way we used to be? Pretending to be in love? Simon, I don't love you. Who would want to go back to that? Our so-called past is disgusting. It's the part of my life I despise the most. And yet you have the audacity to bring it up. Lara, are you still mad? I know you're just saying all this in anger. Once you calm down, we'll talk again. His steps were unsteady as he rushed toward the door. Simon, I wish you and Elise nothing but happiness. May you love each other deeply and grow old together. From now on, I will never stand in your way again. Simon's entire body went stiff as if he had been struck by lightning. He trembled violently. Then, stumbling on his feet, he bolted out of the house. Now only Lucas and I remained in the living room. He clutched the hem of my sleeve carefully, his voice filled with unease. Mom, I know I was wrong. I really do. Can you forgive me? I pried his hand away and shook my head.
No.
Then without another word I turned around, walked into my bedroom, and shut the door. Lucas cried as he banged on the door repeatedly, saying how sorry he was. I ignored him. But deep inside a bitter ache refused to fade. Chapter 14. For 3 days straight, father and son followed me everywhere as if terrified that I would disappear. I refused to say a single word to them, yet they remained by my side, silently keeping watch. On the last day, I finally stood before them of my own accord. Lucas' face lit up with excitement as he threw his arms around me. Mom, you're not mad at me anymore?
I'm sorry. Okay.
Simon immediately pulled me into his embrace as well, his voice trembling slightly. Lara, my son and I know we were wrong. I've sent Elise away. From now on, it's just the 3 of us. Please forgive us. I thought of what I had told the system and tugged at the corner of my lips in a faint smile. Without pushing them away, I made a request. If you both stay with me today without leaving, I will forgive you. Without hesitation, they agreed. After all, they had already been by my side for 3 days. This request was as good as a sign of forgiveness. We spent the entire day outside, just like the days before Elise and the divorce. During dinner, the doorbell rang. Simon returned with a cake in his hands, looking uneasy. This is from Elise, he said. She sent it to celebrate our family's reconciliation. Lara, it wasn't me. I really didn't know about this. I smiled faintly. It's fine. She was being thoughtful. Simon cut the cake and handed me a slice. I glanced at it and raised a brow. Mango. How considerate. Lara. Simon called my name softly. Snapping out of my thoughts, I accepted the plate and took a bite. Seeing me eat it, both father and son visibly relaxed. As they enjoyed their cake, they started reminiscing about our day, making plans for future outings. Just as the atmosphere was warm and lighthearted, an abrupt ringing shattered the moment. Simon glanced at his phone and hurriedly silenced it. He snuck a glance at me, and upon seeing that I showed no reaction, he attempted to return to our conversation. But the phone rang again. And again. Persistent and relentless. Answer it, I said indifferently. It could be something urgent.
Lara, I'm sorry.
Simon picked up the call. I didn't know what was said on the other end, but the moment he heard it, he bolted toward the door, forgetting to even change his shoes. Lara, Elise was in a car accident. She's unconscious. I have to go see her. I grabbed his arm and calmly reminded him. Did you forget what you promised me? Simon froze, his jaw tightening as he hesitated. I let go of his arm before he could decide. Lara, just this once, okay? I swear. Trust me, this is the last time. Without waiting for my response, he ran out. Lucas stepped forward and grasped my hand, his eyes filled with concern. Mom, Aunt Elise, you should go too. Lucas hesitated for a moment before hugging me. Mom, wait for me. I'll just go check on her and come right back. I patted his head. Lucas, goodbye. He stopped in his tracks, confused. Mom, you don't look well. Are you feeling sick? Should I take you to the hospital? I waved my hand dismissively with a smile. If you don't go now, you won't be able to catch up with your dad. He hesitated only for a second before opening the door and leaving. She hadn't even finished speaking before she suddenly fainted again. Chaos erupted in the hospital room. Simon stood frozen, staring at Elise, convincing himself. It's okay. This is the last time. Lara will forgive me. As I waited for my escape from this world, I bargained with the system. In the end, since it had been at fault, It compensated me by erasing all memories of this world and granting me an additional 60 million as a reward. Satisfied with what I had gained, I simply waited to leave. As the clock struck midnight, the house was silent and pitch dark. In the end, those two had still chosen the heroine. But thankfully, I was already home. Chapter 16. The next day, Simon ignored Elise's pleas and rushed home. What he saw shattered him completely. Lara's body was covered in red rashes and deep scratch marks. She had died in agony. Simon refused to believe it. This wasn't real. It couldn't be real. Lara couldn't be dead. She hadn't even accepted his apology yet. She hadn't even heard him say, "I love you." His son, due to Simon's interference, never got to see his mother one last time. Lucas was so traumatized by the sight of Lara's lifeless body that he sat motionless every day, staring into nothingness. Only when he looked at Simon did his vacant eyes ignite with an unbearable hatred. Simon understood. It was all his fault. He had caused all of this. The regret burned so deeply that he wished he could tear himself apart. Then he learned the truth. Lara had died from an allergic reaction to mango. How could he be so damn stupid? He had forgotten that Lara was allergic to mangoes. He had left her alone, neglected her, thinking she would wait for him like always. But Lara couldn't even touch a trace of mango without going into anaphylactic shock. There had been an incident before, where she almost died from it. How could I have forgotten? From the day Lara died, Simon drowned himself in alcohol. It was the only way to see her again. The only way to return to those peaceful days when they were a family. Elise came to find him once. She hadn't expected to see what remained of the Simon family. One man drinking himself into oblivion. One boy soulless and silent, waiting for a mother who would never return. She regretted coming. But the moment Simon saw her, he looked at her as if she were his worst enemy. With bloodshot eyes, he grabbed her by the throat, his fingers tightening viciously. "It was you. You knew my wife was allergic to mangoes. And you still sent that cake. You killed her." His voice was filled with murderous rage. "I'll make you pay with your life." Elise struggled, her face turning purple. Desperately, she turned to Lucas, pleading for help. But Lucas simply stood there watching expressionless, not moving an inch. Not until Elise's body stopped struggling altogether. Simon exhaled almost in relief. He gazed into nothingness, murmuring to the void, "Lara, I avenged you. Come back, please. I was wrong. I love you. I really do." His voice cracked, turning into sobs. Until finally he was wailing. His punishment was worse than death. Simon was declared mentally unfit and escaped the death penalty. Lucas was sent to an orphanage. And Simon was locked away in a psychiatric hospital. Every day he repeated Lara's name. Every day he tried to find ways to end his life. Until one day he finally succeeded. In that final moment he thought he saw her again. That radiant smile. That warm gaze. "Lara. This time let me be the one to love you. Please." Real world extra chapter. A pair of slender, fair hands gently pinched my cheeks. Spacing out, I snapped back to reality, meeting my boyfriend's affectionate gaze. I feel like I just had a nightmare. It was terrifying. He pulled me into his arms, his voice soft and reassuring. "Dreams always mean the opposite. Don't be scared, I'm here." At that moment, my mom walked over. "You little troublemaker, don't think just because you're in college now that you're completely free. Listen to me, take good care of Bruno. You two need to look after each other at university. And don't you dare throw any tantrums. This isn't home anymore." Mom, come on, I'm a college student now. And besides, how could I possibly bully Bruno? I clung to my boyfriend's arm, signaling him to speak up. "Right. Lara spoils me too much to even think about bullying me. Don't worry, Auntie." After my mom's endless reminders, I finally stepped onto my new university campus. Everything about this place felt fresh and exciting. I walked ahead, taking in the scenery while my boyfriend trailed behind, pulling my luggage. Every time I turned around, I met his gaze, eyes overflowing with love. The sun was shining. Everything was just perfect.